Right.
sad. I mean, it's not really, but. What is going on, everybody, and welcome to MLB Live Before Lock. Usually on Wednesday, it's kind of split where there's early games, there's late games, but earlier today, there was only a 3-game early slate. So we do have most of the games backloaded today. Eric and I are going to be breaking all of it down. If you guys have any questions for us, hit us up. Hit me in the Discord chat. If you got questions, throw it into YouTube chat. If you got super chats, also, we're always on the lookout for those. But the only one thing that we're going to ask you guys to do on the show is to like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is free content. It takes you 5 seconds of your time, probably even less than that, and it does really help us out a whole bunch. So if you haven't liked the video, do that. If you watch our shows regularly and you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, even better. Do that as well. Eric, what's happening?
Not much. Just watched a little baseball, cooked a little lunch here, a little leftover stuff we were talking before the show. I'm useless when my wife isn't here to cook for me. Like, I'm absolutely a piece of shit. But enough was enough. I had enough Chick-fil-A, enough Chipotle, enough everything over the course of the last week. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a nice home-cooked meal. And my sister-in-law is in town from New York as they're renovating her place. And so she was hanging out. My father-in-law came over or whatever. And, you know, he's teaching me a bunch of stuff on the grill. And I used to grill back in the day at like tailgates, like flip burgers or whatever. But he brings over pork chops. So he's like, oh, we're going to have pork chops and peaches. That's like a great combo. And I will admit it's a great combo. But the man likes his pork chops cooked the same way that, like, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm chewing on rock right now. It is the most well-done piece of meat I've ever had in my life. And I have to eat it because it's in the fridge and he's going to ask me questions about it after the fact.
I mean, you could, if you don't like it that much and you threw it out, he's never going to know. But I mean, we were talking about it a little before the show.
That's not true.
Same way.
Oh, okay.
How is he going to know?
Because he will. How do I do? We have cameras surrounding everything at our place, and we gave him access to our front camera to watch it if we're ever out of town. So he will know.
All right.
Because it's an empty garbage. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. I guarantee you he's the kind of guy, though, who would definitely come in and be like, I wonder if Eric actually had that pork chop, because we have like 4 pork chops in there, and I'm going to have to eat like 2 more the next.
Alternative solution that I am not wrong about. I bet Duke would like it.
You know how much trouble I would get in if he had any kind of health issues from a pork chop? Duke would like that. I will contemplate this over the next hour. That's actually a really good call.
Sounds like a tasty treat for a little puppy. Well, big puppy now. Big doggo. Also, I could totally relate. I mean, my dad also likes things just egregiously burnt. And we were talking about it a little before. I forgot about the smell because it's been a long time since I've eaten pork chops with him, because he likes it so well done that you could smell the bone burning when my mom brings it in off the grill, and it smells horrible. You could just smell it. The entire area just smells like a burning bone, because that is how well done my dad likes his food, is that it has to be lit on fire for him to deem it edible. And yeah, he just eats blackened meat. It is absolutely ridiculous. But baseball show, we got some baseball talk about today. And first off, Eric, any general thoughts about the weather or anything like that? We've been on a pretty good stretch of weather not being an issue.
Looks perfect, but Tripp did say Eric just sucks the pork chop bones. What a fucked up thing to say to start off a show. I was like, that's not even like a diss, but also like, that would be really uncomfortable if that was a thing you like. What? It's just, it blew my mind that somebody put that into chat right now.
It's really funny because it's really funny, but it also doesn't make sense. Like, you don't need to think about it. It's just like, oh, that's a funny visual.
It's a funny visual. And, you know, I guess, I mean, I've taken longer in the back of my throat before, so it is what it is. By the way, when are we going back to New Jersey? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Anytime now. Anytime. Although this is a bad time of year. We're super busy.
Saw that, Jordan.
Hard to get it in.
Saw that.
Did he do it again?
He did the exotic play of the night. It was me. And,
oh my God.
Me and Peyton Pritchard.
Slurp King. He's getting so excited that basketball's in a month.
I can't wait. You know how busy we're going to be in a month? Do you have any idea how busy we're going to be in a month?
Yeah, but like, I mean, we're just replacing the baseball show with basketball, and
that's
then
true.
It'll be good. It'll be fun.
I'll have a lot more money in
gifted
play.
out 10 YouTube memberships. Chris, we do appreciate it. And thanks as always for supporting the channel. And let's go in and start talking about the top pitchers on the slate, Eric, for today. Once again, this has been a really common theme at this point in the season. There are 4 pay-up options on the slate that are 9K or above, and they are 3 of the 4 most popular pitchers on the slate, because we only have 3 pitchers that are, 3 of the top 5. We only have 4 pitchers on the slate that are pulling north of 15% ownership. 3 of them are 9K or above. Blake Snell is 27.7% owned. Michael King is 32% owned. Hunter Brown is 36% owned. And then Zebby Matthews, all the way at the bottom of the pricing, he is 21% owned. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Pay-up options, though, Eric, between Brown, Ragans, King, Snell. Ragans, the only one that isn't popular, pulling 10% ownership. If you're paying up for one pitcher tonight, who's your favorite one?
Michael King. I think going up against Seattle, in Seattle, great pitcher's ballpark. I mean, we have Blake Snell too, so there's that. But I think Michael King, I've been obsessed with his stuff. He's, I believe, last time I looked, the highest WAR on this slate. The guy's been absolutely insane. He came from New York. He's been revamped entirely. Yeah, Cole Ragans is the highest WAR on this slate. That's kind of insane. But Michael King, 3.47 xFIP, along with great strikeout stuff, great ballpark upgrade, which is kind of wild to say this season. Although, you know, everything is a ballpark downgrade from Seattle in terms of run prevention. He's my highest owned pitcher. He's my favorite of the grouping. I think there's cases to be made. I mean, I have no idea in small field, and I tweeted this out last night as I started digging into this slate. Kind of have no idea where the field's going to go. I'm going to kind of just blindly go with the ownership projections and not try to think too much about it, or try to think that I know something that isn't being expressed in the projections. But like, I think in small field, there's a lot of variability to who ends up being more popular. But in large field, I feel pretty comfortable in being overweight to Michael King, being overweight to Hunter Brown, or being around the field on Hunter Brown, 34%. And then Blake Snell, I think, is kind of like a wild card up top here. And Cole Ragans is in the most difficult spot, but we just saw Seth Lugo go completely ballistic, different handedness, different type of a pitcher. But there's no doubt that there's strikeout upside in this current iteration of the Yankees lineup. So for me, it goes King 1, Brown 2, Snell 3, Ragans 4.
I'm a chalk donkey today at pitcher. I am just playing the popular pitchers today. Yep. Zebby Matthews, Hunter Brown, Blake Snell, Michael King. The order I have them in is a little bit different than the field. I'm actually about even with the field on Brown, Snell, and King. We talk about Zebby Matthews in a little bit. He's actually my most rostered pitcher on the entire slate. But as far as these pay-up guys go, I find it really hard to differentiate them. I think they all look pretty good. I think they're all about appropriately owned. I am not having any real major stands. I've got all these guys in between 30 and 40% of my lineups. On a lot of recent slates, when a pitcher's been really chalky against the Oakland A's, I've ended up being underweight to the field on him. But that's not the case for me today with Hunter Brown, who has been really good overall for the year. But it kind of even undersells him if you just look at his overall season stats, because he started so poorly. His March and April, he had a 5.74 FIP, a 4.36 xFIP. We know he had that horrific start against the Kansas City Royals early in the year. Then in May, he had a 4.32 FIP, a 3.61 xFIP. So certainly better than his first month of the season, but still wasn't great. And then he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball ever since then. So if you look at his numbers overall for the year, they're solid. But second half of the season, 1.65 ERA. He's getting a ton of strikeouts. The underlying numbers look good as well. So early in the year, I was looking at the Houston Astros. I was like, boy, it seems like this team is no pitching other than Ronel Blanco, who seemingly was like throwing a no-hitter every start to open up the season. But now they've got other guys, in particular, Hunter Brown here, pitching just extremely well. Now he's got a 3.41 ERA, 3.26 expected ERA for the season. So I know the Oakland A's matchup, like I said, it's been one that I haven't been attacking quite as much as the field, but I am going to today. So I think all of these pay-up options, really strong options. But for a cash game, Eric, if you're picking 2 of them, who'd be the 2 cash game pitchers?
Michael King, Hunter Brown, not close.
Yeah, that's the same for me as well. For GPPs, I mentioned I really like Zebby Matthews. I wouldn't play him in cash games, though, with these other pay-up pitchers having as much security as they do. Matthews, to me, $5,800 has a lot of GPP appeal in the matchup against the Angels. But if I'm looking at these pay-up options, it's the same for me. Hunter Brown, Michael King, make those your 2 cash game pitchers. I really do like Blake Snell, but his matchup against the Brewers is quite a bit more difficult than Michael King's matchup against the Mariners or Hunter Brown's matchup against the A's. So Blake Snell, not quite the cash game option for myself. Do you like, or I should say, do you dislike any of these pitchers on the high end?
No, I don't. I mean, this is what makes it so interesting, I think, for small field GPPs. And I don't know how low Cole Reagans gets relative to the other three. In like a small field. Like if I were to get like 5-6% Cole Reagans, that would just be incredible in like the single entry stuff. Hunter Brown's going up against Oakland. I think they have some viability as an offense on the other side too, at the same time that we have, Cole Reagans going up in a tough spot against the Yankees. But like, God, it's hard for me to look at anybody up here and say that they're a bad play. I would say Michael King and Hunter Brown are probably going to be overowned, but in large field, that's less of an issue. I am going to be working in Pivetta and Heel. I'm going to be working in a little bit of Lance Lynn. I'm going to be working in a lot of bit of Zebby Matthews. So like for me, I don't really have a problem with a single 9K pitcher. Do you?
Not really. I mean, also most of the ones we've already said that we do like them, but I mean, the biggest issue with Reagan, just that matchup. It's not just that he's pitching against the Yankees, he's also on the road in New York. So that I consider to be a fairly substantially negative matchup. I have him. Yeah, I have 3% of him. So not somebody who I'm going to want to be getting to. For most people who are watching the show, they're playing 1, 2, 3, 5 lineups. I wouldn't play Reagans in any of them. 8K pitchers. I think also some of these guys kind of look okay. Like I have a couple lineups with Luis Heel, a couple lineups with Nick Pivetta, but I'm underweight to the field on them. 14% Luis Heel, 12% Nick Pivetta. I have single-digit exposure to each of them. I would rather find the few $100s extra to get to Hunter Brown, Michael King, Blake Snell. So the 8K range is not really one I get to, Eric.
Yeah, not for me either. It's not very appealing. I think Woo's a really good real-life pitcher. Pivetta I'm getting to, so I just lied. I've got 10% of him, 12% Luis Heel, but I'm underweight to both of them technically. And Woo, I have none of, which again is not trying to say Brian Woo is bad. Just the strikeout stuff hasn't been there. I find it hard to believe that we're going to get all 4 guys in the 9K range to fail and put up sub 15. I just don't really find a need to play Brian Woo.
Yeah. I'm not playing Brian Woo either. Difficult match for him against the San Diego Padres. Let me see. Do I have any Brian Woo lineups? I've
0 for me in 150.
4 out of 150. So not anything that's any bit important or anything like that. See no other questions in the YouTube chat. If we go and look at the Discord, nothing else coming in. If you guys do have a question for me in Discord, at me. And then I can make sure that I see it and I can answer it on the show. And if you guys want to sign up for any of the packages that we have here at Stokastic, whether it's for baseball, any of our football packages, all that does come with access to our Discord channel. Earlier today, I did a Q&A in the Discord channel. It was fun. It went pretty well. Did it for an hour. It went really quick. I'm thinking that once basketball season starts, where there's actually a slate every single day that people are going to care about, I think I might just start doing these every single day, where not only could I answer any questions that people have about how to use the tools on the site, but in addition to that, we can talk about slate specific stuff. So yeah, start doing that regularly going forward. And for sure, once basketball starts, maybe even daily. Let's go into the 7K range at pitcher, Eric, where also nobody is popular. We've got Colin Ray, 6% on Bobby Miller. People are still playing Bobby Miller, 6% Bobby Miller. Come on, the guy's trash. Guy's absolutely trash. That'll come
I feel bad for him, actually.
And then Lance Lynn, he is 9.8% owned. So just 3 7K pitchers. Any of them looking good to you, Eric?
Yeah. So, let's see. No, not really. Lance Lynn, I have like 5% of. So I said mixing in a little bit. Colin Ray's in San Francisco. I think that's the nicest thing I can say. It's a decent enough spot going up against San Francisco in terms of strikeouts and what they could be. 23.4% K rate. I'm uploading some of the stuff in my sheet for like prospective lineups because we're still waiting on it. To my understanding, I didn't see that lineup come in. So yeah, I think that there's, oh, there it is. Yeah, so Ramos batting third, Mikey Yastrzemski up there second, Tyler Fitzgerald leading off. There are some strikeouts in this thing. Holy crap. So Colin Ray, I'm sure I'll get to a couple percent of him, but right now, not really anything to talk about. It's just hard to roster 19.5% K rate guys, despite the fact that he's in a great ballpark, probably decent run prevention. Like, what is the strikeout upside? I would hope that with this version of San Francisco, you would elevate it a little bit more. Gerard Garcia, Encarnacion, 30.7% K rate. Elliot Ramos, Mike Yastrzemski, Conforto, Wade. I mean, we're getting 25% plus on a lot of those guys, so it's good for that. Grant McCray, he is the guy out there with a 42% K rate. He can't hit anything, but it's Colin Ray with a 19.5% K rate, no swing and miss stuff, low swinging strike rate. I probably won't do it.
We did get a pitching question in chat. It was Ant8604 $. He wanted to know, why did Snell only go 1 inning his last start? Because he was dog shit. He pitched horrible. Very, very poorly.
Walking the gamut. It was really, really bad. And there was, it was pretty pathetic to watch, actually. He's done this a couple of times, though, in his career. And I brought this up last year. Some of the stuff he did in preseason would actually shock you, how lit up he got by that Seattle Quad A team. My God, Blake Snell was trash.
Yeah, and then another part of it, too. So while it was only 1 inning, you might look at it and be like, well, 42 pitches. 42 pitches is just an insane workload for 1 inning. And given where the Giants are in the standings this point in the season, I think they were more on the lines of like, what does it matter? He just pitched 1 inning. He had to throw 42 pitches. He was clearly struggling. He was laboring. What are we going to push him out for 2-3 extra innings or whatever it is? Like, even if the bullpen is taxed, what does it matter? They're not in the playoff picture. So just being safe, they ended up pulling him after the 1 inning. It's not anything you'd expect to happen again. But like Eric said, it's something that is live to happen. Any pitchers could struggle at any point in time. Hunter Brown, it happened earlier in the year, and then nobody wanted to play him for like a month. So it happens. It happens sometimes. Cheap pitchers, Eric, I'm on the same page as you. I don't have really any interest in the 7K range of pitcher. I have a couple of Lance Lynn lineups, which is, I guess I like him better than the pitchers in the 8K range. But here's where things get interesting. If we're looking to punt at pitcher, what do you make of Zebby Matthews? 21% owned. He is the only pitcher who's priced below Nick Pivetta. Nick Pivetta is $8,400 at 12% ownership. So beyond him, cheaper than him, there is no pitcher that's double-digit owned other than Zebby Matthews. What are you going to do with Matthews?
I'm going to play some. I mean, it has more to do with the matchup than anything else. I mean, he's a 22% K rate guy so far this year. He doesn't really impress me with anything that he does. Not a big fan of the curveball. It's okay. I'm just looking at some of the pitch frequency and looking at some of it here. It grades out below average, but this is a way above average matchup. He's a right-handed human being going up against the Angels, who over the last month have had a sub 70 WRC plus. There's really no doubt about it. Like, when you just look at matchups on the board on a day in, day out basis, we're going to attack the White Sox. We're going to attack the Angels. We're going to attack a lot of these teams that don't have a lot to play for. Probably going to put in prospects as we get down to the wire of it. Don't forget, though, Zebby Matthews is not good. So Zebby Matthews at 5,800, we're playing to punt and get some type of salary relief. I have 20%. I ended up capping him because I did not want to get more of him than that. I do strongly prefer going up to the 9K range when I can, but there are certain stacks that I want to get to, and Zebby Matthews, he's the only guy, because of the matchup and decent enough strikeout stuff, that if he somehow, some way can just get out of it unscathed, sweet. And then I can just also be overweight to the Angels bats on the other side and feel pretty good about it.
I'm playing a lot of Zebby Matthews. Can't say I'm like completely comfortable with it, but ran everything through the Sims. He showed up in about half of my lineups, and it's just a price point thing. It's just a price point thing. A lot of the offenses I like are expensive. A lot of the pitchers I like are also expensive. And then he's just like the one source of salary savings that I won't even say that I like, that I could just see upside for relative to his salaries because of the matchup against the Los Angeles Angels. One thing that does make me feel at least a little bit better about Zebby Matthews that you and I bring up a good amount, Eric, is for these pitchers we don't have a very big sample size on. How do they project on some of the sites like Steamer, the Bat, Zips, and stuff like that for the rest of the season? Zips doesn't project him all that well, but the Bat and Steamer both project him at least okay. 4.13 expected ERA the rest of the year from Steamer as a starter. The Bat 4.41 ERA, and then Zips much lower on him, 4.86 ERA. But if this guy is actually somebody who could have like a 20% K rate, you mentioned it's 21% so far this year. Every projection source has him right around 20% for the year. If he could be a guy who's a league average pitcher with a 20% K rate in a matchup against the Angels, he just shouldn't be $5,800. And that's enough for him to land in a good chunk of my lineups. And now I just hope that he doesn't get his ass kicked.
Yeah. Are you playing him in half your lineups? You said you were simming out. You are? Oh, boy.
Whatever happens, happens. It is.
Hold on to your butts.
It is out of my hands. After I press, it is in the player's hands after I press the upload button, Eric.
Yucky.
So I'm good with it. I'm going to let it ride unless, something crazy happens. I guess the only thing that would make me be lower on him in any kind of like significantly lower on him is if some weird lineups were to come out that are really cheap and then his salary savings weren't as necessary.
That's a great point, and I'm glad that you threw that out there because that's kind of one of the things I'm semi-concerned with the Padres. I mean, there's so many different iterations of this lineup. And by the way, my buddy's been staying at Luis Campusano's place in San Diego for the last, however long, and he just got sent to the minors, so I'm very curious to see what he does in the aftermath. My buddy Cameron has been living with Luis Campusano in San Diego. I was asking
if your friend got sent to the minor leagues.
Oh, no. He played at UCSB back in the day, California, Santa Barbara. And then he grew up, he was childhood best friends with Christian Yelich. And so he's in the baseball world, he's been working in finance and doing some other stuff outside of it, but wants to get into being a sports agent eventually. I think that's kind of the game plan for him. And but anyway, Luis Campusano gets sent down. So we know that it's going to be Kyle Higashioka that is catching today. Otherwise, I don't know what San Diego's doing. I don't even know who the backup would be at catcher for them today. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But the back half of that lineup could have some savings. It could also be really, really expensive like everybody else. I mean, Jackson Merrill's been batting 7th and he's 4.8K. So I mean, that's one of the lineups we're waiting on. We're waiting on Milwaukee. They're pretty cheap in the back half of it, but they're going up against Blake Snell and nobody wants to play them. I think we kind of know what we're getting here. Christian Bethancourt. I'm looking at some of the Cubs lineups I have for some of these ones where, lineups that aren't going to have Zebby Matthews. My Zebby Matthews lineups are going to involve San Diego. They're going to involve Houston now that they, are pretty expensive. However, Kyle Tucker not in that lineup today. And of course, the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, I don't know how you get to a lot of Dodger stacks, specifically, 1 through 4, without getting to some Zebby Matthews in your life and just kind of holding your nose and going with it.
Well, since Eric is name dropping and telling stories of yesteryear and the people that he knows from back in the day, I will say this. My big baseball accomplishment from back in the past, I've told this story on the YouTube channel before, but it hasn't been for a meaningful amount of time. I was having catch in my friend's driveway, and we were doing one hoppers to each other, and he threw one that bounced, took one bounce, came up, I whiffed on it, hit me right in the balls. I went down in all kinds of pain, and my neighbors were outside and very old people, in their 80s, and they fell over laughing at me because I was in pain, just got hit in the ball. So yeah, maybe you think your baseball stories are cool, but not as cool as mine, Eric.
You said having catch. What a bitch. You're an absolute bitch.
Yeah, I got hit in the nuts with a baseball.
I was having catch, and then we had tea afterwards in my castle on the hill.
Listen, I'm fancy. I'm fancy, as you couldn't tell from this. I was throwing baseball with my friends. I got hit in the balls. Down I went.
Hey, Jesse, also, F you. I don't need that from you. I really, really don't need it from psychotic Canadians. I really don't need your crap.
Eric spent his entire month's salary, which is mostly made up of Dave and Buster's game tickets, on that t-shirt.
Yes, I did.
Did you end up changing it for the thing you were doing earlier?
Oh yeah, I switched it out.
All right. Wasn't sure if you decided to go with it. Jordan, throw a poll up in chat. I want to know what the YouTube audience makes of Eric's shirt.
So again, I love this shirt. My best friend bought me this shirt, but it is not one that you would wear, I think, to blend in on Hello, everybody. I'm Eric Lindquist at Odd Shopper. It's a strange one to go for that direction, but I was hitting golf balls early this morning and I had a polo on and I continued on living my life. That's how it works.
There you go. There you go. Fanciest shirt in the place. I've just got Homer Simpson here. Uh, yeah, I've got Homer Simpson going into the bushes,
It's chill.
and Eric's got his $1 billion shirt on there.
It's like yeah, it's Travis Matthews. Nice. Feels nice.
All right.
Eric got the Trader Joe's shirt on.
This is Spencer's Gifts.
Jordan's funny today. Spencer's Gifts.
Spencer's
That's
Gifts.
nice. That's beautiful. That's
Underrated place to get shirts.
That is solid. By the way, I wear polos because you have to on a golf course, but like I would wear a t-shirt, just like a t-shirt like you do every single day of the week if I could. Like
I've noticed recently at public golf courses that's gotten really lax. Like you just show up in shorts and a t-shirt and nobody really gives a shit. When I was a kid, even some like the same public golf courses, that was not allowed to fly. Now they don't really care anymore. Yeah, we'll see. We'll be keeping up on the poll. It is a dead heat right now, 50-50, yes or no on Eric's shirt. Whose lineup is that right there, Jordan, that had the negative ROI?
And what did you vote on my shirt? And I'll tell you what I think of your lineup.
Well, I think it's not the best of lineups here. So it is negative 4.5% sim ROI. Yeah, so looks like very contrarian, right? Angels stack, it looks like. It's kind of hard for me to make it out from here, but is that a 5-man Angel stack, Jordan? Gotcha. All right. Yeah. So it looked like it was all Angels just from like the way it kind of shows up blurry through Zoom. But yeah, make a 5-man stack. There's not enough correlation there. And also on top of that, who did he throw Jack Kokonowitz in that lineup as well, if I'm not mistaken? All right.
Cox in there. Jesus.
Cox in there.
Hell yeah, brother.
Eric's buddy at Luis Camposano's place right now. I don't like Kokonowitz in lineups.
I don't like the cock.
Yeah, that's whatever. We'll let the audience decide for themselves. Anything else you want to talk about from DraftKings pitchers? Now we'll talk about the FanDuel side.
No, FanDuel.
All right. So over on FanDuel, no pitchers north of 20% owned, but we do have some guys that are pulling ownership. It is a lot of the same guys that are getting ownership on FanDuel, but a little bit dispersed here. Hunter Brown's 18% owned. Zevi Matthews is 17% owned. Michael King is 16% owned. Blake Snell is 11% owned. Luis Heel is actually kind of close to Blake Snell, 8% owned over on FanDuel. And then just nobody else is all that relevant, at least as far as projected ownership is concerned. Let's start with a cash game pitcher on FanDuel, Eric. If you're building a cash game lineup right now, which direction would you go in for FanDuel cash?
Oh, I think this is actually, I mean, there's only two guys that I'd be picking between. And I'm going to go with, they're within 0.4 of each other. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I'm going to say Michael King still. I'll stick with Michael King.
I'm still going to say not Zevi Matthews. I'm kind of in between Michael King or Hunter Brown. I'm going to lean Hunter Brown because he's pitching at home and he's $600 cheaper than Michael King. I don't think you go wrong either way. I lean a little bit towards Brown, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most like 50-50 I've been on a cash game pitcher question on FanDuel and forever. So it is very close, but I think I'll side slightly with Michael King. You could also just play DraftKings where you play both of them and move on with your life. But FanDuel today, I will ever so slightly go Michael King because I think the matchup's just ever so slightly better.
Hey, I'm Drew95 in chat. This is in our Discord chat. Says, Eric's shirt looks like something people wore in the 80s, which had some of the worst fashion trends ever. Yeah, I would say it's a shirt it looks like Charlie Sheen would have wore after he got cleaned up. Because it's like close to those shirts that he wore on 2.5 Men, but like a little bit nicer. And then Eric also being a little bit clean cut. You know, maybe no tiger blood there. Dude, Charlie Sheen was cool as fuck. He like got AIDS for fun. It was an activity for him. And then he drank tiger blood. So Eric's a less cool version of that.
Thanks. Appreciate it. He made $2.5 million per episode of 2.5 Men, I believe. I think I made a $25 Dave & Buster's gift card for this show, so it evens out.
Yeah, you might have to recheck your contract. We're not giving you that much.
Okay, I
play
tried.
at Dave & Buster's.
I tried to change it.
Yeah, you know the rules. You get 2 runs at skee ball. 2 runs, no more, no less. We're allowed to go back the next day.
But what about Cruising USA? It's my favorite.
What were your favorite arcade games to play growing
Oh
up?
my God, I had so many. So we had Aladdin's Castle was the name of our arcade in Sioux Falls at the Empire Mall. And I would play Mortal Kombat. I'd play NBA Jam. I'd play NFL Blitz. I would play skee ball. I would play the throw the football through the little hole game. Don't even know what that's called. The thing with the big circle with the light. So I was basically that big light game where you have to like get the buzzer thing to stop it right on the in between, and you get like 500 tickets if you do it, and you spent like 14 of your parents' dollars to finally get it done. Then you realize 500 tickets gets you like nothing. Yeah, that was good times, but those were the best. And then Cruising USA, loved that. I even was like a classic game. I liked sitting down at the pizza parlor at Pizza Hut or like the other different pizza parlors and having the Pac-Man game, Pac-Man 2, and just basically playing it, and then having your pizza just sitting there with like a Mountain Dew. Those were the glory days. It doesn't get better than that.
I can't remember what it was called, but there was the side-scrolling Marvel game where you pick the different characters.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I did that.
I played X-Men a lot too.
Those side scrollers were lit.
Yeah, X-Men too. X-Men was an awesome arcade game.
Yeah, X-Men, and then also the Ninja Turtles version of it was
awesome. Great. Yep.
There was a Power Rangers one that was also sick, but that was for Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Back to pitching, and then we'll talk about some of the offenses that we are playing. And I think Zebby Matthews also looks really good on FanDuel. If you're going to be paying up for expensive offense, he's $6,100 on FanDuel. He's the cheapest pitcher on the entire slate. He should just be more expensive because of what the matchup is. So I like him if I'm going cheap. Do you like any of the contrarian pitchers that are single digit owned on FanDuel, Eric?
No.
I feel the same way. Like if Luis Heel was like 3% owned or something, I guess, but he's kind of close to 10% owned. I don't like Blake Snell at 11% ownership on FanDuel either. I'd want to be building my lineups around Michael King, Hunter Brown, Zebby Matthews. Yeah, they're the 3 most popular pitchers on FanDuel, but it's still kind of modest ownership. All of them are sub 20% ownership. Actually, all of them are sub 18% ownership. Also, whoever lineup this is that Jordan had plugged in looks pretty good, 41% there. Sim ROI, so it looks like it's a good one to play. Any final thoughts on pitching? If not, we'll go and talk about some of our stacks.
No, we'll jump in and talk about our stacks, but also I feel ashamed. From Fresno said Tech N. I loved Tech N. Eddie Gordo, Tech N. Oh, I was an absolute god. I love Tech N so much.
Bro, the way that you are putting the emphasis on syllables is driving me fucking crazy.
Thank you.
Tech N?
Thank you.
Tekken, you goofball. Who the fuck calls it Tech N?
You're really mean today.
Is that a Midwest thing?
I think so. We all called it Tech N. Or Tech N.
I don't think they did. I think your friends just didn't want to. I think they just wanted to make fun of you and have you say it incorrectly all the time.
It's weird because my friends have never made fun of me ever.
Yeah, not to your face. I know what they say behind your back, though.
My friends always make fun of me.
And also, I'm reading the comments in chat, and I am absolutely correct on this because everybody immediately is saying the same thing as me. David Wayne, what the fuck is Tech N? We got John M. Causagnia here saying Tech N.
You're gonna miss me when I'm gone.
I agree.
You're gonna miss me by my walk. You're gonna miss me by my talk.
Let's talk about some stacks. Yeah. Eric, there's one stack that I like a million times more than any other team on the slate. It's the team I have the most exposure to by a mile. I kind of tipped it off earlier. Which team do you think it is? This pitcher I've been attacking basically every time he started lately.
I mean, we're just jamming the Cubs today.
How are they only 5% owned?
I don't get it. I have 48% of them.
Bobby Miller. We've given up on Bobby Miller. Gave up on Bobby Miller a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a 7.79 ERA, a 6.64 expected ERA this year. Strikeout rate, 21.6%. Home run to fly, 28.8% home run to fly ball rate. There's just no, other than the fact that he throws really hard and he's got a good acumen as a prospect, there's been nothing redeemable about Bobby Miller this year. Went down to the minor leagues, which I know that it's a hitter-friendly environment, but even so, Bobby Miller made 5 starts in AAA, had a 5.82 ERA, a 5.36 FIP, and wasn't able to generate strikeouts. They sent him down to single A. Bobby Miller in single A had a 9.95 ERA and a 4.7 FIP. He has gotten his ass kicked wherever he's pitched this year, and every single time he's on the mound, he's more popular in the offense he's going up against. People are just not stacking against Bobby Miller. I mean, last time he pitched, I had a ton of, I was stacking the Angels against Bobby Miller, and it went pretty well. They scored, I think, 5 runs before he recorded a single out. If the field isn't good, even if the field was stacking against Bobby Miller, I'd probably be stacking against Bobby Miller, but especially when the field isn't stacking against Bobby Miller, this is the best spot on the slate.
I never play this much of an offense. This is the highest owned offense I've had in a non-Coors Field spot this season. It's not close. I have them in almost half my lineups. I'm just jamming them. And that doesn't even count the amount of 2 and 3 mans I have in 5-2, 5-3s. I mean, this is just absolutely egregious. And I kind of have a conspiracy theory, Greg, because I was thinking about this. You know, we were watching that Angels. Well, I was watching the Angels game. I know you probably were too, because we were talking about it. But I think if Bobby Miller threw it 90 miles per hour instead of 98, he would be the most attacked pitcher on every single slate by a mile.
He should be. I don't know what it is that people just aren't stacking into
Bobby
Miller.
It's velocity.
I guess there's something.
If he didn't throw it 98,
the guy's been terrible, and he's super friendly to pick on for DFS because about 1 out of every 3 balls that gets hit in the air against him turns into a home run. Here are his. Do you know, Eric, how many starts he's made this year where he didn't allow a home run?
I'm going to guess less than 3.
It's 1, and it was his first start of the year.
It's unbelievable, dude. He has a 12.2% barrel percentage.
Every other start since, he has allowed he's made 11 starts this year. He's allowed homers in 10 of them. His recent starts, 3 homers allowed against the Angels. That death penalty. If you allow 3 homers to the Angels, that's it. You're just not allowed to pitch in baseball anymore.
Yeah. Them's
allows
the rules.
1 homer to the Orioles, 2 homers to the Rays, 2 homers to the Cardinals, 2 homers to the Phillies. I want to stack against him, and I'm going to because that's my decision.
That's a good decision.
Slate. Play him in single entry, play him in large field GPPs.
Yep, I'm very here for it.
Are there any other stacks that are remotely close to the Cubs for you?
No. Not relative to their ownership. I mean, relative to their ownership, they're ridiculous. I would say a team that I have a lot of is the Angels now as well, going up against Zebby. I have Zebby, talked about that before, but I love stacking the Angels against a popular cheap pitcher that is popular purely for one thing and one thing only, and that is his price point and matchup.
Yep.
I guess that's 2 things. But anyway, we are definitely going to be getting to them. I'm looking at other spots. I mean, everything pales in comparison to Minnesota and Houston in terms of ownership on this slate. I prefer the Houston side. Again, our boy Jack Hakanowicz. We've got, how'd you like that inflection, you guys? But anyway, definitely like Minnesota in spots where you don't think they're going to get pinch hit for ad nauseum. Again, I look at this lineup and it freaks me out a little bit having Larnach batting cleanup, batting, Deshaun Kiersey. I mean, he is just a prime candidate to get pinch hit for 2.6K. If they're going to be super, super popular like this, I said this the other day, and of course they went nuclear to some extent. You pretty much only wanted Kyle Farmer, though, which is pretty hilarious. Matt Woolner did go yard, but I like getting to the Houston side a little bit more. Kyle Tucker, not in that lineup, sucks, but it does add in 1 cheaper bat. We're getting Ben Gamel, Jake Myers in the outfield. Mauricio Dubois as well, 2.2K. He's terrible, but he's 2.2K with multi-positional eligibility. I like the Houston side against Estes. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
So I'm a chalk donkey at pitcher today. I'm playing all the popular pitchers. As a result, I am not playing the popular offenses meaningfully. We've got two offenses that are accounting for a lot of the ownership on the slate. The Twins are 15% owned. I saw people in chat asking about the Twins as a stack. And then you got the Houston Astros, they're 11% owned. Every other offense on the slate, single digit ownership. And because I am playing those popular pitchers, and I like them a lot, and they project better than a lot of the other pitchers, the way the Sims are building out my lineups here is it means that I am jamming the chalk at pitching, and then I'm fairly contrarian on offense. So I'm way underweight to the field on the Twins, way underweight to the field on the Astros. It's not because they aren't good spots. If I'm building a cash game lineup and telling you guys who to build your offense around, it is the Minnesota Twins and the Houston Astros. Twins are crazy cheap against Jock Cockwitz there. So if you want to build lineups just highest projected stacks, yeah, it's the Twins and the Astros. But my lineups have to be different somewhere, and it's going to be different at offense, not as different in pitcher. So Twins, I'm underweight to them at 15% ownership. Astros 11%, also underweight to that. I know you mentioned liking Houston, Eric, but what do you make of a crazy popular Twins team on offense?
I say I'm not going to get to this number of the Twins. Too much pinch hit risk with a number of pieces. And again, I'm going to play a ton of Matt Wallner. I will constantly play a ton of Matt Wallner against righties and pretty much anybody. But I'll have Matt Wallner. I'll have some Carlos Santana, 3.6K first base. And Royce Lewis, I think, is the main upside guy. But I don't need to play him as a 5-man with the amount of risk that I think exists with the Trevor Larnach. He is 3.2K. And Deshaun Kiersey, again, he's somebody who's just primed to get pinch hit for at some point. With Willie Castro out there, we can always move positions, move guys around. He can play shortstop, he can play third, he can play the outfield. And it just makes it so easy with him being a switch hitter to have the platoon just constantly bite you in the ass with some of these spots. And so with those two outfielders specifically, I would be a little bit lower on them at mega chalk in 5-man stacks.
Yeah, and I did see in chat, it was somebody asked about the Twins. Oh, it was Anthony Hunt said, are we stacking Twins, Greg? If you are contrarian at pitcher, then I think it's more reasonable to go to the Twins at offense. And I do have 6% of the Twins. I get to them more as a secondary stack or like players to save salary with. But I mean, 6%, that's a third of what the field has pretty much. So I'm not anywhere close to what the field is doing. I have four teams on the slate, Eric, that I have in a double-digit amount of lineups as a stack. I've already told you that two of them are not going to be the ones the field is double-digit ownership to. So it is not the Astros. It's not the Twins. You know, one of them is the Chicago Cubs. Who are the three other offenses that you think I have double-digit exposure to?
The Dodgers.
Yep. Got to.
St. Louis.
Yep.
And maybe we took Houston out, right?
Yeah, not Houston. St. Louis is so cheap. So yeah. St. Louis is like comparably cheap to Minnesota, but they don't have the same ownership, less than half the ownership of Minnesota. So like getting overweight to the field on St. Louis, it's really easy to make St. Louis stacks and still pay up for two of the stud pitchers. And then my Dodgers ownership, that's where Zebby Matthews comes into play. I have to play Zebby Matthews to get to the Dodgers bats.
Gotcha. Is one of them Baltimore?
Not Baltimore.
Okay. That's a contrarian stack that I like against Pivetta. We know he can strike people out. We know that he can give up bombs over Baghdad. He can kind of do both. So it's got to be Boston then. Is that the fourth?
It is not Boston.
All right. Just give me the answer.
All right. It's the Angels. So
okay. Love it.
In the same way I like Zebby Matthews at his price point, I like the Angels at their price points just because in the event where the Angels hit Zebby Matthews, you have now basically made it so that every single expensive offense is kind of off the table for the slate. If Zebby Matthews gets hit, like I don't think there's going to be a lot of lineups that are like Koknowitz and Brandon Williamson or something like that and paying up for the Dodgers. So I do think it just kind of makes sense from a game theory perspective that if you have Angels stacks and they go out and have a big game against Zebby Matthews, it's just a really clear path to having a high finishing GPP lineup because it's going to be the Angels who are not popular, only 3% projected ownership. And then you have them paired with two of the expensive pitchers on the slate, two of Blake Snell, Hunter Brown, Michael King. And I think that in the scenario where Zebby ends up failing me, because he is my most rostered pitcher, I do have some leverage on the Angels. I think it's a really good game to be playing both sides of.
Frank Klein, what did you just tag me in on Twitter? What are you doing? What are you doing as a person in the world?
Yeah, good point. What is he doing on Twitter? I thought that Jordan just spends his time masturbating when he's off camera on shows.
That's exactly what he's doing. But why does everybody hate me today? What did I do? What did I do to deserve this?
You put on a shirt and you pronounce Tekken Tekken, which in fairness, that's good reason to be aggrieved.
Okay. Well, I would beat the shit out of you playing the game, so who's the mean person now?
I would beat you in Mortal Kombat. I didn't play much Tekken growing up. I was a Mortal Kombat guy.
I love Mortal Kombat.
Tekken. We got a super chat here from Jeff Williams. Jeff says he's playing the big 3180 contest on DK. He's got Brown, King. Did you plug his lineup in, Jordan? Is that it right there? Looks pretty good to me. It came out with a pretty high sim ROI, so I say ride with it, Jeff. Yeah, ride with it. Jeff, I know Jeff's running good as well. He just had that hit. What was it, for like 20K not all that long ago? Yes, looks like a good lineup, Jeff.
Let's go.
It's a chalky lineup, but it's still grading out pretty well. So I say ride with it. In Discord, we did get a question here from Mr. Coolcam asking his normal question. Wants to know our favorite stack for FanDuel. It's the same for me. Cubs, my favorite stack everywhere. In the same way that they're under-owned on DraftKings, I think they're under-owned on FanDuel as well. With that said, they're a little bit more popular on FanDuel, but still 9% ownership. Not enough. I think they should be the most popular offense on the slate.
I would agree.
Oh, good call out in chat, by the way. Aaron Hines said the old Soul Calibers. Yeah, that was a fun game.
That was a great game. A lot
of those games that were really popular for a little bit. Soul Calibur was another one. Are there any other offenses that are important to you for the slate?
No. I think we covered the main ones. I mean, I'm going to have pieces of a couple here and a couple there. That, a couple Oakland stacks still. Like I see 2 of 150 there. I see 3 stacks of I would say Baltimore and Boston. We didn't really talk about it. It's a game with a 9.5 total. It's the highest total on the slate. So, I mean, something probably breaks well there. They're just really expensive for the 9K pitchers to pair them together. So it's tough for me to land on either one of those teams, although I do slightly lean the Boston side.
I did get a question in playback from M. Thompson 32. He wanted to know our favorite hitters from the Cubs. Yeah, I think it makes sense to talk about. You and I are both stacking so much of the Cubs. Let's go over the 5 hitters. So if somebody's building a stack, I want to know which 5 hitters to pick, or 4 hitters you're playing on FanDuel. Who are the Cubs hitters you have the most of, Eric?
I have 60% Dansby Swanson. I have 55% Christian Bethancourt. It's just a catcher that's attached to my stacks. I have 45% Isaac Paredes. I have 43% Saya Suzuki. I have 40% Michael Busch. I have 38% Pete Crow Armstrong. Done.
So for myself, in descending order, starting at the one I have the most exposure to, Dansby Swanson, Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, Isaac Paredes, and then Miguel Amaya. Those are the ones that are showing.
Miguel Amaya is not in the lineup. It's Christian Bethancourt.
Yeah,
so. You got to rerun it. Christian Bethancourt is the guy.
Yeah, I was just about to say as I was looking through, because I was going to do one more run of my lineups with just all the updated lineups. So it's probably going to be Bethancourt. If not, it's going to be Nico Horner's the next one up for me.
Yeah, you know what's so funny looking at my lineups is Cody Bellinger is like 7th on my Cubs list. That's insane. I only have 30% of him, but I mean, I'm still way overweight to him, so it's whatever. But just interesting, if you will.
He is, well, technically Bethancourt's the starter I have the least exposure to because I've been rerun my lineup since the starting lineup came out. But of the 9-man projected lineup before we started here, Bellinger is the one I had the least of.
Yeah, it's wild.
So I'm on the same page as you. Let's see from chat. No other questions here. So Eric, let's do our dong picks. Slurp King, make sure to have your home run pick ready so you're not shocked when I ask you for yours. Eric, who's going yard today? I assume we're going to pick some Cubs guys. I'm teeing this up for you, Jordan. I'm tipping you off on who you should be picking for your home run call.
I mean, Just wait, Lindy. I'm gonna have a post in Discord. I have 5 home run plays that I have in this Cubs game. They're all on the Cubs side that I am playing up against Bobby Miller. Just to get a little bit more specific with it, he is so bad against lefties. It is just not even real life. Michael Busch has a 204 expected ISO, 15.3-degree average launch angle, 16 homers against righties. There are not many scenarios that you play out this game 100 times and you don't have him exceeding plus 350, plus 375 prevailing numbers. Like Michael Busch is just going to launch it into the night sky against Bobby Miller. This poor soul has no chance. Batting 6th, which is kind of interesting, but Michael Busch, he is going so far tonight.
Which one of these guys do I want to go with? There's so many good options. I'm not going to take Jordan's guy. Jordan, you better pick the guy who I want you to. I'm going to go with Isaac Paredes. Isaac Paredes, that is going to be my home run pick. I want to pick on Bobby Miller. I think everybody in the Cubs lineup is live to homer today. From the chat, let's see what we have from chat. Jose Mora is going with Jaron Duran. We got Brandon Drury from William Westry. Aaron Judge from Malachar. It's been a minute since Aaron Judge hit a homer. Rafael Devers from Michael Swarrick. We've got Ian Happ from Obi-Wan. We've got Gunnar Henderson from Put the Fork Down. Tripp saying Tommy Edman is his pick today. He said that he picked Cedric Mullins last night. Yeah, Tommy Edman also with 2 homers yesterday. Anthony Santander from Reg Kell. We've got Michael Busch from Tom Olson. Obi-Wan is tipping off what he thinks Jordan's pick is going to be. I hope it is. That's what I'm trying to tell him he should be picking. Cedric Mullins from EMAC. Cody Bellinger from Francisco Rubio. We've got Joseph Ramirez. He's predicting a Bobby Miller no-hitter and then a Will Smith home run. Reese Hoskins from Aaron Hines. TJ Friedel from Eric Traub. Sotex going Dansby Swanson. Tristan Cassis from Trizzle, Maine. Alec Bregman from Nicholas Barrett. Then we've got Giancarlo Stan from Anthony Hunt, Paul Goldschmidt from Jetty, Lucan Baker from Mike Campbell, Jordan Walker from Jesse. Bring it home, Slurp King. Who's it going to be? You better say the guy I want you to.
We're going to be going with Seiya Suzuki for the homer.
Look at that. We got Seiya Suzuki. We're all picking Cubs to homer today. Thank you guys very much for watching. You want to sign up for any of the packages we have on the site. Links are down below in the YouTube description box. That also comes with access to our Discord channel. Thank you guys very much for watching. Good luck with your lineups today. Let's go Cubs.
Back in.